Street art in Melbourne, Chris. Wow. What's your impressions? We've been here a few times. We've done it a few times. We're in one of the shittiest, smelliest laneways with a car coming behind us. So we're just going to move out of
Timing
the
is
road for a little bit.
perfect.
Timing is absolutely perfect with some of these things.
Oh,
So tell me, what's your impression with what's been going on? We went down Hosier Lane. That's one of the iconic ones that all tourists come to.
yeah. I think for me, it's a little bit disappointing. It's almost like the gangsters have gone and just tagged things, which I don't consider to be art. And the ones that were really beautiful have been destroyed by some amateurs. But in saying that, there's been some new art, which we'll share with you, which has actually been really beautiful. So it's a bit of a mix mash. Hosier Lane, like you said, used to be one of the places to go, but it looks a little bit run down. I did see a few posters saying
Make Hosier Great Again.
yeah, which I thought was really interesting.
Playing on the back of the MAGA thing, yeah.
Yeah, what did you think having come back after a couple of years and having a look around Melbourne?
Well, look, honestly, you're going to take offense at this if you're the people doing it. There's a lot of wannabe little gangster taggers that are just bombing the artwork that looks good. And
The professional artist.
right behind us here, like just tagging stuff, which, you know what?
It's not cool.
Nah, look, it looks trashy. The only thing that is kind of slightly appealing about it is, you know, the clashing colours and all that sort of stuff. But there's no artistic talent with any of that. It's not like they've got control over what they're doing. They're like dogs marking their territory, more or less, in my opinion. Sounds offensive. It's supposed to be offensive. If you're doing it and you're offended, well, that's you.
Stop doing it. It's annoying.
Yeah. So, I mean, it's one of those things where the street art in Melbourne was really a big draw card for a lot of tourists. And I think there was a massive amount of appeal, even for locals going there. And it seems to be that it's diminishing. There are parts of Hosier Lane too now where it's like you sort of come down the hill heading towards the National Gallery. And there's a road that's sort of a laneway that sort of bends around to the right and ducks around behind a building. That's where I think, you know, there's probably about a dozen or so homeless people who've sort of like set up camp in that area. They're harmless, more or less, but the area is full of broken glass and it's just looking less like a tourist attraction than what it used to be. So, look, street art in Melbourne, personally, if it was me, you'll see some of the stuff in this video that we're going to drop in. I'd be more inclined to not go through the laneways in the city because they're pretty done and they've been diminished with a lot of the stuff that's going on. I'd be heading up towards Brunswick and Collingwood and having a look at some of the streets around there. There are some really interesting pieces that you'll find in some of the laneways. And the thing I think is really appealing about it is, unlike where we are right now, you're glad you don't have smell-o-vision. This reeks of urine.
Yes.
And most laneways in Melbourne do.
Or alcohol.
Yeah, have done for years. I used to come down in these laneways and do all sorts of black and white photography. I'd be getting conflicting line elements and stuff like that with the architecture and the drainage and all that sort of thing. But I don't know. I think for me, Melbourne, you need to lift your game. And that's not just on the city of Melbourne, but that's also on the reckless individuals coming through who are just marking their territory as they come in here. It sucks.
Look, if you've been following us for a while, you would have seen by now that we do appreciate our art and we will drive a long way to see some good art, and we have seen some fantastic artwork. But if you're interested to see some of the stuff that we have gone out of our way to explore, certainly have a look at some of our other videos, because some of the artwork on the silos and the water towers are just phenomenal, and that's the type of stuff we really appreciate.
Check out that playlist. That playlist is, yeah, there's some stuff in there.
We don't really appreciate this kind of stuff.
That's crap. I got nothing more to say. It's crap. It really is. Look, we're going to go check out a few more bits and pieces. We're glad to be back in Melbourne for a bit of a look around. It is interesting coming back to where I grew up. It's changed a lot. They seem to be getting a bit more of a vibe back here compared to where they were 2020, 2021. That's good to see. But at the same time, I don't think it's got the same sort of energy that it had in the early 2010s through to 2018, 2019. probably not the most livable city. It was rated the most livable city quite a few times, but now I think it's lacking
Lost
in that
its
regard.
appeal.
It has.
So, on a positive note, thinking about our viewers being more interested in travel, what are the types of things that people might be drawn to Melbourne for?
There's a couple of places. We're off to Storyville this evening. That is showing up on Instagram quite a bit for a few people. It's a pretty cool little spot. Very much
psychedelic.
Alice in Wonderland sort of experience, which is pretty cool. There's still some amazing restaurants in Melbourne. There have been some really beautiful places that have been able to survive. I still think the place that comes to mind for me is the library.
Yeah, the library is very cool. It's very unique. You need to go upstairs to see the architecture from the inside. Melbourne has a really great food culture, and a lot of people here really appreciate the diversity and variety that is available. As an example, where are we going for dinner?
Palermo, I think it's called. It's an Argentinian restaurant from memory.
Yeah, so
I can't recall the name exactly. I'll add it to the
In the show
description,
notes?
or I'll put a caption right here, like in my fingers, right there. There's the name, right? That's where we're going.
yeah, so that's going to be a new experience for us, which we're really looking forward to. If you love Greek food and that culture, Oakleigh is amazing. There's so many Greeks in Oakleigh. There's a bit of a joke here in Melbourne that there's more Greeks in Oakleigh than there are back in Greece.
Melbourne's apparently got the biggest Greek population outside of Greece,
I've heard.
or
yeah.
Athens. Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, there's some amazing food in Oakleigh in particular. If you want good Greek food, you go to Oakleigh.
Although I would still go back to yachts every day of the week.
Well, that's where we're going for your birthday. So if you're in Darwin and you want
We're
really
not
good Greek,
catering for you.
no. Come join us. We won't tell you what date. But yachts in Darwin, they're up around the Cullen Bay area. Yeah. If you're in the top end, that's the place to go for a really good Greek meal. Plenty of good stuff here. Look, it's still a really nice. We went to Seedlings a little earlier today, which is a completely gluten-free. It's a gluten-free. For those of you struggling with gluten, there is no gluten or gluten. I was blown away. They offered us, because I normally go for an oat latte, but they said, sorry, we don't do oat milk because we're completely gluten-free or gluten-free. We're doing tiger nut. I'm like, ooh, haven't had tiger nut in a while.
So our friends up in Queensland would be very excited by that because they love their tiger nut milk.
Yeah, check out Talk and Take Off. Big tiger nut fans.
Yeah, definitely.
Check out this artwork coming up. There'll be a montage. We'll be doing things in the montage.
Hope you liked what we have to share. Until next time.
Live your life with no anchor. That's what we're doing.
And you should too.
See ya.
Bye.